Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including video from Ridgefield's school walkout yesterday, a bank robber caught in Stamford, and much more. Frank Granito will have a look at your forecast and a Nutmeg Sports update. Donna Lang will also join us later to take a look back on this day in history, and later on we'll have a preview of our front pages this week. But first, a Norwalk investigation into a home invasion last year led to drug dealing charges for a local man. Now, police have previously secured a warrant for 20-year-old Andre Roberts. Now, this stemmed from an investigation into a home invasion that occurred on November 23, 2017 at Midwood Road, where Roberts lived at the time. Now, during the investigation into that home invasion, detectives located and seized 700 Xanax pills, 1.5 pounds of marijuana packaged for sale, as well as $9,000 in cash and numerous Ziploc plastic bags consistent with those used to package marijuana for sale. Now, these items were seized from Andre Roberts' room, police said. Subsequently, Norwalk officer David Geismer of the Special Services Division conducted a lengthy investigation into Roberts' drug dealing within Norwalk. Multiple controlled purchases of marijuana were conducted from Roberts. As a result of that investigation, search warrants were issued for Roberts, his vehicle, and his residence at 515 West Avenue. Well, at the time of his arrest, he was in possession of 1.12 pounds of marijuana packaged in 35 individual bags for street sale and cash. A subsequent search of Roberts' vehicle and apartment yielded marijuana wax, vape pens used to ingest the wax, as well as marijuana edibles and additional cash. Roberts was also found to have a stun gun in his vehicle. He now faces several drug charges. And the Stamford Advocate reports that police staked out a drug rehabilitation facility and ended up catching a suspected West Hartford bank robber without incident in downtown Stamford Wednesday morning. Police Captain Richard Conklin said that Sergeant Chris Brahms and his investigators, working with West Hartford police, were able to figure out that 36-year-old Robert Boulay, who was wanted for a bank robbery a year ago, was staying at the Liberation House, a drug rehabilitation facility on Main Street in Stamford. Well, after keeping an eye on the facility, officers spotted Boulay on the street and took him into custody without incident. Conklin said he is believed to have robbed the Simsbury Bank on Farmington Avenue in West Hartford on March 1st, 2017. Now, Boulay was transferred to West Hartford police for charging and arraignment. And in other news, a Bronx, New York juvenile turned himself into New Canaan police in response to a forgery summons for allegedly trying to pass a $100 counterfeit bill in a store on Elm Street back in January. Now, on Monday, March 12th, that 16-year-old juvenile turned himself into New Canaan police in response to the first-degree forgery summons for that incident that reportedly took place on January 5th. Now, the store clerk at the time used a pen on the bill, which determined that it was counterfeit, and told police that the bill also looked fake. After being denied the purchase, that juvenile took the counterfeit bill back and left the retail establishment. That juvenile was identified through a joint investigation involving the New Canaan Police, Westchester, New York County Police, and Ridgefield detectives as well. And Darien police are investigating a case of identity theft after a Delafield Island resident discovered 2 Verizon wireless bills in her name. Now, that victim does not have a Verizon account of her own, but one of the bills showed 3 phone numbers assigned to her, and the second bill showed a 4th number, the total charge for that first month being over $127. Well, that victim contacted Verizon's fraud department, which reported that the phone had been purchased online using her Social Security number. The representative said the phones were shipped to a different Connecticut address that could not be shared until a police report was filed. Police are now investigating that case, but no other suspicious activity has been reported so far. And students in high schools across the region participated in the National School Walkout yesterday. That walkout was in honor of the victims in the Parkland, Florida shooting and a statement on ending gun violence. Well, the Ridgefield Press attended the local high school's event, speaking to students who were involved. Take a look.
So I just heard from our principal, Dr. Gross, that over 98% of students were active in this walkout today, and that is very inspirational for me because while students here are often defined by the groups we're a part of, by our political group, by our political opinion, or by other things that we're really involved with, this morning everybody was able to come that all aside and just have a really peaceful remembrance for the 17 lives lost. So I'm very proud to be a Richfield student today, and I really want to say a big thank you to all the administration who made this possible.
Do you have any plans for what comes next, or?
For what comes next, I mean, like I said, everybody was able to put their beliefs and their opinions aside to really come together as a group. And we're talking about walking out, but now kids are also starting to talk about walking up. You know, walking up to that kid who isn't sitting with anyone at lunch, or walking up to that kid who is a little different from the others. So I think that what comes next is the walking up part of this walkout, this whole experience.
So how'd you feel about marching today?
I felt really good about marching. I think that it's extremely important to give back and remember those who lost their lives in such a tragedy, and I was just really happy to be a part of it with all these kids who are passionate about making a change.
How do you think it's going to go going forward?
I think the response will be positive, and that we'll see more of these events happening throughout the country, especially in our town. I know that we're having other events later in the year to support this event that happened. So.
So I mentioned this earlier, like it's incredible how more than 90% of RHS participated today, and when we were walking up and I just saw the amount of kids that came out today, it's really powerful, and I really think that sends a great message, and we all came together.
Nicholas Gilroy, 17. Canaan, 37. Nutmeg Sports, 14.
I think that the political aspect of the event in Florida is really important. But what we wanted to come out of this walkout was more of an honorable, like a nod to the lives that were lost and to recognize the tragedy of what happened instead of the political impact of it. And I think we succeeded in having an experience that was really humbling. When I saw pretty much the entire student community walking in a march down the walk that we made to honor the lives lost, it just felt like everyone had come together and put aside political divisions to just honor what happened and learn from it and apply it to what we'll do in the future and how we'll live our lives.
What did you think of the turnout?
I thought it was fantastic. It was amazing to see how many people understood that this was about something more than gun control policies. It was about acknowledging and reflecting on what we lost in Florida, and it was amazing to see the students all kind of realize that.
And thanks so much to the Ridgefield Press for that video package. All right, taking a turn now, we're going to throw it over to Frank Granito for a look at your forecast. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. Mostly sunny skies right now with temperatures sitting in the low 40s. Going to feel a little more closer to freezing, though, with wind gusts around 25 to 30 miles per hour. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds throughout the afternoon. Clear to partly cloudy skies overnight and a low of 28. Much of the same tomorrow, and temperatures right around 38, 40 degrees. Won't be as breezy out, so that will be the real feel. Earlier, we'll see sunshine. Later, we see some clouds. Mainly clear overnight with a low of 25, and then mostly sunny on Saturday. As it starts to warm up a little bit, temperatures right around 45, 46 degrees. Hopefully, we'll start to see some of this snow melt away as we head towards the start of next week. That'll do it for this weather update. Let's go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. We're going to step out for a break, come back. Donald Lang will take a look back on this day in history. Frank has your Nutmeg Sports update, and we have more local news after this.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
Well, there's still a bite out on the water. Most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Welcome back to this March 15th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Eng. Don.
Well, Kate, it was a big day for Senate action starting in 44 BCE when Julius Caesar, dictator of the Roman Republic, stabbed to death by Marcus Junius Brutus, Gaius Cassius, a lot of the other Roman guys, on, of course, the Ides of March. Ostensibly, the conspirators wanted to return Rome to a republic. As we know from history, didn't quite work out that way. To 1906, Rolls-Royce Limited is incorporated as a business in Britain. Now, the company's original mission was to build the world's greatest cars, and over the years it has also branched out into aircraft engines, jet technology, things like that. Now, when it comes to building luxury cars, though, the company is so good at it that there is only one brand in the world, Coca-Cola, more closely associated with its product than Rolls-Royce is with luxury cars. 1985, the Symbolics Computer Company registers the first .com domain name in history. The company went out of business about 22 years ago, but the site is still up. Not a lot of content, though. It really just lets you know that it is the oldest .com site on the internet. Other early adopters of .coms were Northrop, Xerox, Hewlett-Packard, and Bell in the top 10. IBM is number 11 on the list of earliest domain names. Finally, now we go to 1965, Washington, D.C. for this.
Their cause must be our cause too. Because it's not just Negroes, but really it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. And we shall overcome.
That, of course, was Lyndon Johnson's speech to Congress 8 days after the Selma voting marches, unequivocally putting the U.S. government behind the civil rights movement. Now, Johnson presented Congress with the Voting Rights Act, which would later be called the Johnson Act. Keep in mind, voter registration was required to do things like serve on juries and run for office. In 1965 Selma, blacks were 50% of the population, 1% of registered voters. That is your look back in history for today, March 15th, and I'm Donald Eng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, a $5 million winning lotto ticket was sold in Stratford. Hearst, Connecticut media reports that the lucky Mega Millions ticket was sold at Dolly's Deli, located on 6 Boston Avenue. Now, Dolly's is located on the corner of Boston Ave and College Street near Holy Name of Jesus Church. Now, the winning numbers drawn on Tuesday were 6, 30, 58, 60, 61, as well as Mega Ball number 17 and Mega Playa number 5. Now, that player matched 5 numbers, but because the player added a Mega Playa for an extra $1, that $1 million prize was multiplied to $5 million. Now, this was Connecticut Lottery's first $5 million Mega Millions prize. And New Canaan officials say after 2 winter storms hit the town in the span of a week, residents ignored official warnings as they moved barricades and caution tape to travel down closed roads. After the March 7th storm with so many power lines down and many roads closed, Fire Chief Jack Hennessy said that moving barricades is a very common occurrence, and he said it happens at most blocked off streets. Well, officials warned that even though people are often told after a storm to presume that wires are live because they may be, in the early part of the storm in most cases, down wires had electricity still running through them because Eversource had not yet shut off the power. Well, Hennessy was particularly concerned about an energized high-voltage primary wire on the ground in the area of Weed and Waccamae. A barricade was moved that could have been a tragedy if someone got too close to that wire. Now, Highway Superintendent Morris Zachary said he wishes people would just stay home during a storm because it slows our whole process down. He added if people can stay home, it's a great help, and then obviously nobody gets hurt. There's much more on that storm response at ncadvertiser.com. And First Selectman Jamie Stevenson of Darien has joined Mayor David Martin of Stamford and First Selectman Kevin Moynihan of New Canaan in objecting to the suspending of the New Canaan branch service on Metro North. In a letter dated on March 2nd, signed by all three to the Department of Transportation Commissioner John Redeker, they said in part, suspending New Canaan branch line service as proposed by the DOT will have an immediate adverse impact on the economies of their communities. Now, rail rates may be hiked in Connecticut by 10% as early as July, and $6.5 million would be cut from planned improvements that would impact Darien as part of Malloy's threat to cut $4.3 billion from the state's transportation budget. In addition to the rail hike, the state has proposed cuts to off-peak rail service on the New Canaan, Danbury, Waterbury, and Shoreline East rail lines. Well, the town leaders pointed out that their workforce does not conform to historic Monday through Friday work model and now relies on branch rail service for weekend commuting to work as well. They also pointed out that the reduction is proposed during a period when home values have stagnated and the rates of home sales have declined, and said that reductions will exacerbate their housing market challenges. More on that story at DarienTimes.com. And in other Darien news, Baywater Properties and Principal David Genovese says he has been working for years to ensure that the planned redevelopment of downtown Darien is a project that both modernizes the design and aesthetics of the town's central business district and also look towards the future of the needs of the community. Now, the Corbin project, which has been adopted now the name of Your Downtown Darien, will create a mixed-use development with new apartments and redesigned retail, restaurant, and office space on an 11-acre campus along Boston Post Road and Corbin Drive. Now, more than a year after earning preliminary approvals from the town's Planning and Zoning Commission, Baywater opted to scrap the Corbin project's original design. Now, that project's new design remains focused on pedestrian accessibility and a mix of residential, retail, and business space, but has a much smaller footprint overall with less underground parking than what was originally proposed. Now, in meetings with the town's Planning and Zoning Commission and the Architectural Review Board, Genovese said the decision to overhaul the Corbin project was not motivated by zoning constraints. It was inspired by new developments in the realms of retail and transportation, as well as the project's long-term impact on Darien. There's so much more on that story at DarienTimes.com. But all right, let's throw it over to Frank Granito now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
All right, Kate, the D1 semifinals in boys ice hockey took place last night at Ingalls Rink on the campus of Yale University. First up, it was the Greenwich Cardinals, seeded number 2 in the tournament, and the number 3 Xavier Falcons. The Falcons jumping out to a 2-0 lead halfway through the second period in this one before the Cardinals would roar back on their way to winning in overtime. Matt Bogger would score in the second period. Alex Mosian, with a minute remaining in the game, would force overtime, and Matt Davey would finish things off just a minute 40 into the extra period as the Cardinals advanced to their first championship game since 2015 and will look to win their first state title since 1992. Who they'll face, we found out in the second game, as it was the third meeting of the year between number 1 Fairfield Prep and number 5 Ridgefield. Prep scoring early in this one took a 1-0 lead to the first intermission, but Matt Walker got the Tigers on the board with a power play goal just a minute 20 into the second. That the last bright spot of the night for the Tigers, though, as Sean McGee was spectacular in net for Fairfield Prep, stopping the final 20 Tigers shots. Prep would go on and win 4-1 in this one as they advance to the state championship game. They will take on Greenwich 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon from the Whale. Tonight, Staples is in action in the D3 semifinals. They will take on Eastern Connecticut at 5:30. That championship, should the Wreckers win, would be played at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. That'll do it for this Nutmeg Sports Update. We're back at 2 o'clock. Kevin Coleman, John Kovac, and I will break down last night's games. For now, we go over to Kate.
Thanks so much, Frank. And we're going to step out for a break. When we come back, we're going to preview our HAN Network community newspapers this week after this.
Get a fresh start to the new year by shaking up your meal routine. Walter Stewart's Market is your local source for a delicious selection of fresh and convenient salad shakers, like Southwest salad with chicken, Cobb with organic chicken, Power Vegan with fruit and quinoa, Greek salad with tabbouleh, and grilled shrimp with hominy. Grab one from our salad case or order from our deli today. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. SCAP Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Family owned and operated for over 50 years. Call, click, or stop in today.
Save thousands right now at the Spring Sales Event and Ram Truck Month. Ends March 31st.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to myorthoct.com, like them on Facebook.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm joined now by John Kovac, our editorial director, to preview our front pages this week. John, what are you looking at first?
Well, the Ridgefield Press, a lot of school news with the school board exploring the resignation of the superintendent. Students walking out, as did students all over the country yesterday, March 14th. A discussion of to whom the police chief would report, and the Charter Commission decides not to town hall. School offices are going to relocate for a more than $1 million renovation of the Ridgefield Playhouse, and a lifeguard saving a life.
All right, very cool. All right, taking a look at the Stratford Star this week. Laura Hoydick, the mayor there, proposing a $220 million budget for the coming year. More details on that. Also, Stratford High walking out in remembrance, so some photos and more on that event. And a theater group that had its eye on redeveloping the Shakespeare Theater has a new plan now to fix it up.
In the Reading pilot, we examine the possibility of a school resource officer being added to the staff at Joel Barlow, and take a look at the storms that have plagued the area over the past 2 weeks.
All right, taking a look at the new Canaan Advertiser this week. More on kind of the 2 storms that hit in March and people's response to that. As we mentioned on Coffee Break, a lot of people moving barricades and potentially putting themselves in danger by driving over live wires. So please stop doing that. Finance also recommending a budget with 1.89% expense increase. Crews work to keep the plows moving during the recent storms, and some great photos of some Irish dancers just in time for St. Patrick's Day.
In Monroe, students at Jockey Hollow Middle School stage Fiddler on the Roof. Discussions of a social worker being budgeted for schools. Response to the latest nor'easter, and the robotics team headed off to the World Championships.
All right, taking a look at the Weston Forum this week. Now, there was a vote for the Weston Dog Park to happen last Saturday, or this Saturday rather. Last Saturday, sorry. But it was rescheduled due to the number of power outages in town. So now that vote is going to be held on Wednesday, April 4th. More on that this week.
Students in Wilton among those joining the national walkout on March 14th. More coverage of the storm. Students in Wilton also making their mark in photography at Focus 18 and appearing in a production of Oliver at the Wilton Children's Theater.
All right, taking a look at the Darien Times this week, a story we mentioned previously on Coffee Break, and that's at the 4th of July fireworks, which were held at the high school. The future of that uncertain after some damage to the fields and some issues there, so talks about needing some new volunteers to help keep that celebration going. Also, Finance Board holding some public hearings on the budget. Story we just mentioned, and that's the Corbin Project, and discussions continue over that redesign for that development in downtown Darien.
Parents and officials in Trumbull are discussing school safety, as are parents all around the country. It's curtains up for curtains to play on Friday. Leo's the top chili chef in town. A new Trumbull Day committee is appointed, and coverage of the storm.
All right, taking a look at the Milford Mirror this week, some photos from the St. Patrick's Day Parade last weekend. Also, city historian opposing demolition of the historic Baldwin House, and CES handling the school superintendent search. They are going to need a new superintendent and assistant superintendent, who have both announced that they are leaving Milford. And of course, the 14th State Senate District, Gail Schlossberg not seeking re-election, but Democrat James Maroney now announcing his candidacy.
Shelton police made an arrest in a string of commercial burglaries. Students at Shelton High School joined the national walkout. A 4th grader won a state gymnastics championship, and the storm left its mark on Shelton.
All right, looking at the Easton Courier this week, the Easton Library will be hosting a mini golf fundraiser, so more on that event coming up.
Our arts and leisure section, with St. Patrick's Day just days away, looks at the green hills of health. Did not see that coming. And the acrobats of China are somersaulting their way into Ridgefield.
And also in all our papers this week is our spring bridal section. Definitely check it out. More on some great locations in the area to have your wedding, and a lot more wonderful features on that. All right. Now, John, getting ready for a busy day. Yankee Fisherman coming up today at 1.
The trout stamp, the trout and salmon stamp it now called, now in effect in Connecticut. We'll sit down with the head of fisheries to explain that regulation change, and we'll talk about an event coming up to raise money for Save the Sound that's going to have 4 experts offering their tips on saltwater fishing.
All right, Yankee Fisherman coming up at 1, Nutmeg Sports coming up at 2. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break. We'll see you tomorrow with the latest local news and more. Have a great day.